found Princess Kuragan. When she arrives in England, she's coming straight to me.
What? When did you hear?
Yesterday. So we've got her out and brought her to safety.
You must be looking forward to seeing her again.
Hardly.
But if you don't like her, why have you gone to the business of sending Shippy to her rescue?
That's what I keep asking.
Well, Granny?
Yeah, you know me. Never complain, never explain.
You don't usually have much trouble complaining.
She'll arrive about 6 and come straight here. That'll give her time to change.
I doubt she has much to change into.
Yes, well, I'll see to that.
And the prince?
I've asked him for dinner at 8. You'll be there a few minutes before.
Suppose he brings his toothbrush?
I'll let him stay. I mean, they're well and truly married. God knows I can swear to that. And I've asked Lord Merton. Yes, he can talk to the princess. You know, they can discuss syringes and stitches and things.
Oh, what fun you make it sound.
It was kind of you to send a motor car.
We didn't want you to get lost.
Where is the princess?
She's upstairs, changing.
We haven't seen her yet, any of us.
I borrowed this from the Theatre Royal.
Oh. Shall we?
Are you sure you wouldn't rather greet her in a room by yourself? We can always scoot back.
No. It will be easier not to be alone at first. I haven't seen her for 5 years. I want you all here.
The presence of strangers is our only guarantee of good behavior.
The Princess Kuragan.
Igor.
Irina.
Shall I introduce everyone?
If you wish. But what difference will it make?
You've had a long journey, Princess.
Obviously. I would so like to go to Russia. I'm afraid I never have. Then you've missed it.
Do you have everything you need?
I wear the clothes you had put out.
I didn't know if you'd have your luggage with you.
I have no luggage. I have no possessions to put in my luggage.
Come, my dear. Nothing is more tedious than other people's misfortunes. Let us just be grateful to Lady Grantham.
Last time we met, the circumstances were rather different.
I don't remember.
I think you do. I think you'll enjoy Paris.
Oh, many of our countrymen have settled there. Of course, they've lost everything, but so have we.
Including the will to live.
Well, if you're going to be miserable, you might as well do it in charming surroundings.
With your permission, I'm going up now.
I hope you will be comfortable. My maid Dinka will be looking after you.
I will be more comfortable tonight than I will ever be again. You don't know that. But I do, Mrs. Crawley. Good night.
What time will you call for the princess in the morning?
Whenever will suit you, if that's what you've decided.
Me? I'm surprised you think there is still a decision to be made.
You are good to lend her those things.
They're given, not lent.
So, tomorrow we say goodbye. Is that what you really want?
It's how it must be.
I don't understand you.
You will, if you try. Sprat will see you to the car.
I'll do that.
Oh.
I should be going.
Thank you.
Good night.
Good night.
I have the sense that a game of high stakes has been played here tonight. Although I couldn't tell you who the winner is. Me, I hope.
Have you told the prince his cause is hopeless?
Yes. I am sad to say.
Sad.
I will never again receive an immoral proposition from a man. Was I so wrong to savour it? Weird. Ah.
Really, my lady? You do surprise me.
I hope your standards are not so high as to prevent you remaining in my employment, Dink.
No, not at all. Not as high as that, my lady.
Where's the knocker? You stay here.
Some tea? I can just about make tea. How did you find me?
Rose gave me your address.
And you came alone to this part of the city?
I was accompanied by my maid. She's waiting outside.
How wonderful to be back in a world where ladies are accompanied by their maids. Why didn't your son provide you with a car?
Oh, he would have done. I just didn't choose to tell him where I was going.
It is not our first secret designation.
I always feel more comfortable leaving the past in the past.
Then why have you come?
Because Rose's father, Lord Flintshire, thinks he's close to finding the princess.
She's alive then?
She was alive when she left Russia, that they know. They think she was put on a boat headed for Hong Kong. You'll know more soon.
I wanted you from the moment I first saw you. More than mortal men ever wanted woman.
That is an historical detail.
Nonsense. If Irina were dead, I would ask you to run away with me now.
You can't run away when there's no one left to run away from.
I loved you more than I loved her. Even today. Even this afternoon.
Please don't.
Why not? If it's true.
Because you make it sound as if we were both unhappy. And I don't believe you were, and I certainly was not.
You wouldn't admit it if it were true. You think to be unhappy in a marriage is ill-bred.
You do know me, Igor. That I must concede.
Yes.
Need a new doctor or clinician?
There's a big sense of the end of an era, really, in the nation for houses like this, and it's really brought home when we go to visit a friend of ours, Sir John, who's literally having to sell the family furniture, and it becomes very sort of graphic when we go to the auction of the contents of his house.
You're having quite a clean sweep. Well, we've kept a few portraits to make a decent show in the London house. But what's the point of storing the rest? This life is over for us.
He says to Robert Grantham, in 20 years there won't be a house this size left that isn't an institution. And that was the view of a lot of people. They thought that was it, that was the end.
Downton Abbey is where the Crawleys belong, I hope we'll stay as long as we can, but I suppose we all realise it may not last forever.
Oh, this is weakling talk. Thankfully, George and I are made of sterner stuff than the lot of you.
That, I'm sure, is quite true.
There were instances where houses were open for charity. What they haven't made the connection to, and nor have the Granthams, is that this should actually be part of the house's income. But Robert doesn't get it.
They do better taking a train for London and visiting the Tate. Robert, who is bedridden at this stage, thinks the whole thing is ridiculous. And anyway, who would want to come and see, round our dusty, pokey, mansion? And, of course, people do come. And there's one of my favourite scenes, actually, is a tiny little moment where a little boy who's just gone wandering off, left his parents, and wanders into my bedroom. And we have this rather surreal little conversation about... He asks, why do you live in such a big house?
Well, why not buy somewhere comfy? You must have enough money.
Maybe. But you know how it is. But it certainly doesn't occur to him or anyone, really, that in the future this will become the norm, that houses such as ours will be open to the public and, in fact, will be the saving grace.
They originally came because it was a fascination to go and have a look inside a way of life that most people simply couldn't imagine. It was otherworldly. And the sixpence would enable people from classes very different from the aristocratic one to get a sense of this scale, this drama in which the Grand of the United Kingdom lived.
I was once invited by Lady Carnarvon, very lovely, to a weekend at Highclere Castle, and there was this lovely old dowager who was there, and she turned to me at one point and went, "Oh, the reason Downton is so successful because it's as if someone's just looking through our window." And I thought, well, that's so true. That's sort of it is. It's opening the doors and having a peek in, and that's what's brilliant about that scene on the open house is that they all think they're coming just to look round at this old house, but actually they're getting a peek into the lives of the Crawleys.
Have you told Robert?
Mama, you of all people don't want to bore. I've just... Be quiet. Excuse me.
When we started, there'd probably been 250 people working there. It'd been kind of nice to see the scale of the operation and to see how it's scaled down now,
there's no sort of unemployment benefits of any kind, and so if people don't find other work, then, there are serious implications to that.
And the reality of your employment being threatened is destitution, really. So it would be frightening to be threatened with, the loss of your job.
In 20 years' time, I doubt there's one footman working at Downton. Lady Edith already manages without her own maid, and if Anna were to leave, I doubt that Lady Mary would replace her. It's not just you.
They're seeing this change really affecting them. For instance, Daisy and Mrs. Patmore in the kitchen used to have those two plus a scullery maid, and it's just the two of them in the kitchen now.
It's harder with no kitchen maid, In the kitchen, we've lost all the kitchen maids, and that's rather major, really, considering how we started. And we do sometimes wonder how we're managing to do all the food.
Thomas's job is definitely on the line. Who has an under-butler these days?
Should I start looking for another job?
How could it hurt?
At first, it's Andy, the new footman, who came in at the end of last year, who's worried about it, and Thomas is quite paternal towards him, saying, "No, you don't have to worry, you'll be fine."
Suppose that's me gone then. Last in, first out.
You don't know that. And then, in comforting him, he sort of realises, maybe Andy's right to be worried. Maybe we won't be fine, and maybe because he's had such a checkered history, it'll be him next. Mr. Carson, did you know anything about staff being laid off?
It's not a subject for the here and now.
Andy coming into that, a couple of months ago, might have thought, well, maybe in a few decades I might be where Carson is, and this is a really great respected job, but actually his longevity in the house probably isn't that long now.
The younger members of the downstairs family start thinking, actually, is a life of service the right job for me now? I have other opportunities, and should we be retraining, looking at other options, and getting out while the going's good, so to speak?
I just wish Mr. Mason was settled.
Well, if you passed your exams, you'll be in a better place to help him.
Maybe.
People are discovering that they can actually make a name for themselves and make money for themselves and make careers that are theirs without requiring to live in the aristocratic world and serving a family in the utter bliss that is delivered by Downton Abbey.
Hello?
I believe we're expected. Of course, Mr. and Mrs. Harding. But who's Gwen?
Well, she was a housemaid here before the war.
She got away to be a secretary. Now she's having lunch upstairs while we're still stuck down here. She's growing up, she's becoming socially aware, she's becoming educated, she's becoming dissatisfied for herself and the people around her. And that sort of bubbles up inside her and keeps spilling out.
Oh, Daisy, don't. You lose your job and then what?
Look at Gwen. She's thrown off the yoke of service to make a good life. What am I doing with mine?
With Gwen, we see what was possible with the ingredients of determination and education. And both were always available. It was just almost impossible and not expected for anybody who was living within a certain class to ever aspire to do anything outside whatever it was that the great houses had to offer.
It seems marvellous to me. You leave service, go into government. Now you're married to a prominent man. 20th century story.
I agree. Welcome back.
But Gwen has gone off. She's become a secretary and she's made contacts and she's obviously had that burning fire of determination.
We can't afford to waste working women by not educating them.
It's lucky Carson isn't here.
Carson? Our butler. He's a traditionalist.
Well, I always try to write strong women because I think one of the interests of period drama is clearly there were just as many intelligent, dynamic women around then as ever. I mean, I don't think those things never change. The difference being that they were living under a tremendous amount of constraint. And so if they were determined to achieve, they had to somehow box and cox their way through the rules so that they could get to a place where something could be done. Not by any means all of them were successful, but that was what a lot of them were trying to do. And that creates a kind of tension in those characters. Mary is trying to do things that her society doesn't really approve of, but she doesn't want to give up society.
He doesn't want to bother you or his lordship, just the agent.
Wait 10 minutes and show him into the library.
Very good, my lady.
You'll have to manage him. I've got some errands to run and I promised I'd meet Granny at 11.
I want to be left to manage him. It's my job. You know, she's an aristocrat, essentially, so she cannot do such things. You know, people would turn their nose up at her and she could be, laughing stock and a social pariah. But at the same time, she's willing to take those risks, and that's what I love about her. And you've come to discuss it with Mr. Branson?
I know that's not possible, my lady, but if you could just tell me who's replaced him.
Hold on to your hat, Mr. Finch, but I'm afraid I have.
I see.
I've been working with Mr. Branson for some years, and now I intend to manage myself with his lordship.
Well, it's a changing world.
It certainly is.
Well, I think it's very interesting that Cora is always very supportive to their independent lives and very excited by them having lives that have more opportunity and are lives that are completely different to hers.
Brains count for more than muscles.
Long live women's rights and all that, but it's not a good idea to take on a job that wears you out.
We get a sense of how tough it was for women. And perhaps we get a sense of why there was this great determination, particularly after the First World War, when women basically had kept Britain going, that they should have their place in the world. And both Mary and Edith are proving it's possible, and so is Gwen, and you're getting a sense of it above stairs and below stairs.
They found a sort of purpose and a job for themselves, and that is really hard to let go of, and that's something that Edith, talks about a lot this series, which is, she needs a purpose, she needs to have something to do, and that's been really wonderful to play, and to get this script, which is based in 1925, and have a conversation about, a woman in the workplace and dealing with sexism, is incredible. So I'm thrilled that Julian's taken it in that direction.
The tension between the society in which they were living and what they were trying to do, I think makes for good drama. I enjoy that.
I know now I need a purpose. That's what I've learned. I can't just lead one of those purposeless lives.
You inspire me.
Ultimately, when we met, Lady Mary and Lady Edith and Lady Sybil at the beginning, the story was about who they were going to wed and settle down with, so it feels appropriate that we would tell that as our end. Not to say that a wedding is the end of everyone's story and journey, but I think, for instance, Carson and Mrs. Hughes, everyone's been longing for them to get together since season 1. End of season 5, we had that lovely proposal, so it's fitting that this season we would have a lovely wedding to go with it.
And I pronounce you man and wife.
It is quite a surprise that they offer to hand over their house for a wedding of a member of their staff. After all, they put their staff in an impossibly complicated position, because if you've dedicated your life to upholding the stature of an establishment, then it's quite difficult to then undermine the whole purpose of your life by enjoying the fruits of that structure yourself.
If we take a neutral place and decorate it the way we want and put in the flowers we like, it would be about us. In a way, the great hall of Downton Abbey never can be.
So it's quite a tough thing to ask Carson to do, but he accepts it because I think he's very flattered by it. He thinks it's such an honour. And because Mrs. Hughes is somehow more grounded in the realities of wanting to achieve her own identity than he is, she desperately wants to go somewhere else.
Mrs. Hughes, doesn't Carson deserve a wedding in this house, where he has served this family for so long and with such loyalty?
And will continue to do so while there is breath in his body.
Well then.
But this is our day, my lady. It's about Charles Carson and Elsie Hughes. And not about this glorious house or the glorious people who've lived in it. Just us.
Again, it's that changing of the time, the clashing of the two worlds, and I think we do that with some other period points as well. When we have a sequence where there's a party downstairs here, and the family come and join. And for me, I love those moments where you take the image of the upstairs family who we know so well sitting in the drawing room or the library or the dining room, and you throw them into a downstairs environment like a fish out of water. I think Violet comes downstairs at one point for the first time in 50 years, which is just brilliant.
Has it changed much since your day?
I only know I shall need Ariadne's thread to find my way out.
It's a gorgeous wedding, absolutely beautiful. Yeah, the set looked amazing. It's so lovely, and I'm sure that many people will host a wedding in exactly the same style for a few years to come.
It's sort of probably almost closer to what a lot of weddings are like now, a sit-down wedding breakfast, a bit of a jig afterwards. So it's nice to see our upstairs family in a very downstairs environment.
In Downton Abbey, do you need a reminder on who's who in the Downton Abbey house? Well, let me help you out a little bit and introduce you to some of the unique personalities. Like Cora Crawley. She's the lady of the house and the pillar that holds the Crawley family up.
To brighten the lives of the nation with stateliness and glamour.
Then there's her husband, Robert Crawley. He's the head of the Downton estate, which he's preparing to hand over to his eldest daughter, Lady Mary Talbot. As the oldest of the Crawley daughters, Mary has been groomed by her witty grandmother to rule over the Downton estate.
You're looking very sunny tonight. I'm happy. Why, does it bother you?
Lady Edith is second in line and has always lived under her older sister Mary's shadow.
I just want to own my own life.
Then there's Violet Crawley, the matriarch of the family. Her clever commentary drives Downton forward.
Will you have enough clichés to get you through the visit?
If not, I'll come to you.
Oh, here we go.
And let's not forget Tom Branson, who was once the Crawley's driver, and a member of the downstairs regime that includes the fearless Mrs. Hughes, who keeps Downton spotless and orderly, assuring the well-being of her employers and staff, and eventually married her counterpart, Mr. Carson, although he did recently retire and passed his head butler duties to Thomas Barrow, a former rebellious footman
Welcome to Downton Abbey.
who has grown into a trustworthy member of the Downton staff. John Bates is Lord Grantham's personal valet and is married to Anna Bates, who, in addition to her duties as the lady's maid, is also Mary's favourite confidant and closest friend.
Downton Abbey's the heart of this community, and you're keeping it beating.
And of course, the Downton staff would not be complete without the temperamental cook, Mrs. Patmore, an incredibly talented chef. She often stirs the pot with her colourful commentary. That is something to look forward to. So there you have it. Now you're a little wiser before seeing the glorious film Downton Abbey in theatres.
Downton Abbey, the movie we've been waiting for, only in theaters.
Now.
Don't be stupid. None of them will be up for hours. What difference will it make? Jimmy will do it when he comes in. Thank you, Daisy. Anna. Oh, just for once in my life, I'd like to sleep until I woke up natural.
Is your fire still in?
Yes, Mrs. Patmore.
Oh, my wonders never cease. Have you laid the servants all breakfast?
Yes, Mrs. Patmore.
And finished blacking that stove?
Yes, Mrs. Patmore.
What about the bedroom fires?
All lit, Mrs. Patmore.
Right, well, take your things and get started on the fires on the ground floor. Hurry up.
Any sign of William?
No.
Where have you been?
I'm not late, am I?
You're late when I say you're late.
Daisy? Whatever are you doing there? Crouching in the dark.
You weren't here and I didn't like to touch the curtains with my dirty hands.
I'm quite right too. Why didn't you put the lights on?
I didn't.
Well, it's electricity, not the devil's handiwork. I'll have to get used to it sooner or later. Skeleton Park, they've even got it in the kitchens.
What for?
is ready, Mr. Carson.
Yeah, William. Any papers yet?
They're late.
They certainly are. Get the board out so you can do them as soon as they're here.
Is the library tidy?
Yes, Mrs. Hughes.
Good. I want the dining room given a proper going over today. You can do it when they finish their breakfast. Oh, heavens, girl. You're building a fire, not inventing it. How many have you done?
This is my last till they come downstairs.
Very well. Now get back down to the kitchens before anyone sees you.
Lady Mary, are the tea trays ready?
All ready, Mrs. Patmore. If the water's boiled. Could you give us a hand to take the other two up?
I've got a ladyship's to carry.
I'll help.
Back door.
Papers at last. William?
You're late.
Yeah, I know,
But what?
you'll see.
Do the Times first. He only reads that at breakfast. And the sketch for her ladyship. You can manage the others later if need be.
Why are the papers ironed?
What's it to you?
To dry the ink, silly. We wouldn't want his lordship's hands to be as black as yours.
Mr. Carson, I think you ought to see this.
I can't make myself believe it.
Me neither.
His lordship's dressed.
William, will you stop talking and take this kedgeree up? And mind the burners are still lit.
Yes, Mrs. Patmore.
Is it really true?
Afraid so.
Nothing in life is sure.
Morning, Carson. Good morning, my lord.
Is it true what they're saying?
I believe so, my lord.
I'm afraid we'll know some people on it. I don't suppose there are any lists of survivors yet.
I understand most of the ladies were taken off in time.
You mean the ladies in first class? God help the poor devils below decks. On their way to a better life. What a tragedy.
When Anna told me, I thought she must have dreamt it.
Do we know anyone on board?
Your mother knows the Astors, at least she knows him. We dined with Lady Rothes last month. There are bound to be others.
I thought it was supposed to be unsinkable.
Every mountain is unclimbable until someone climbs it, so every ship is unsinkable until it sinks.
Good morning, Papa.
Why? What's that?
Just arrived. Telegram.
Is her ladyship awake?
Yes, my lord. I'm just going to take in her breakfast.
Thank you. May I come in?
Isn't this terrible? When you think how excited Lucy Rothes was at the prospect, it's too awful for any words. Did J.J. Astor get off? Of course, that new wife of his is found to have been rescued.
I've had a telegram from George Murray. One of his partners is in New York.
Yes?
It seems James and Patrick were on board.
What? They can't have been. They weren't going over till May.
And they changed their plans. They're definitely on the passenger list.
Thank you, O'Brien. That'll be all for the moment. But surely they were picked up.
Doesn't look like it.
What? Neither of them. You must tell Mary. She can't hear about it from anyone else.
It was my grandfather's decision. I thought of changing it back, but the family felt they were English now, and they wanted to stay English.
Have you decided at last whether you're leaving?
At last is the right phrase, but I want to make sure I do the right thing. I don't want to disrupt Sibby's life. They regret it.
You know they all want you to stay.
That only makes it more difficult. Lord Grantham was saying that Gregson left Lady Edith his publishing company.
Yes, that's right.
Then shouldn't someone telephone the office? Won't she go there? They must know where to find her.
Of course. How clever you are.
Seems rather obvious to me.
Your mother and Robert are hitting it off.
She's not the problem.
Oh?
My father's the tough nut.
Oh, my people are the other way round. My father's a darling and my mother's the nut.
Then we shall crack them against each other. It's strange how some people get married, and we can't manage it once.
Dogs barking in wrong trees spring to mind. Tony, I'm sorry if you feel I'm tracking you around the country, but I can't give up just yet. I'd be so very happy if you'd let us.
And I won't be if I don't.
I remember my mother telling me that in the end, happiness is a matter of choice. Some people choose to be happy, and others select a course that leads only to frustration and disappointment.
And I'm one of the latter.
Terribly hope not, for my sake.
I have a little announcement.
Are you sure?
I am. You might like to know that Lord Merton and I have decided that we should get married.
Lovely. Well, this calls for a toast. I give you Mrs. Crawley, or should I say, the future Lady Merton.
Future Lady Merton.
Naturally, it was the last thing I ever thought would happen.
Well, I forced her into it.
He wooed me into it, and I'm terribly pleased he did.
Well,
What's the matter, Granny?
He's worried about Edith.
I can't think why.
My dear, a lack of compassion can be as vulgar as an excess of tears.
I'm sorry if I seem distracted, but I'm truly so happy for both of you.
I thought I'd give her dinner so she can meet my sons.
Well, she has met Larry before.
Let's hope she's forgotten.
Why don't we do it here? We could invite Granny and everyone. You are my godfather, and Isabel's the grandmother of my child. Oh, please, let's. It seems only right, Mamma.
Of course, if you'd like.
Oh, that'd be very kind. A signing of the bond between our families.
I wish we didn't know the anguish lurking behind this jolly evening.
you love other people's secrets.
Not these days.
I can't tell you why I can't leave Mary, but you'd understand if I did.
Just promise me it's a struggle.
More than you know.
We must go, but it's been such fun. I hope you'll come to us next time.
We should love it. I suppose now we just have to wait and see what happens.
There's no need to hurry them to anything. They're both very young.
Well, I would be delighted if something were to come of it. Good night, Lady Grantham. Lady Rosamond.
They're so easy in each other's company. Anyone can see it.
But he won't let me go.
Because you refuse to make it clear that you want him to. Just as he's moving off, you tug his strings. Send a clear message and he'll go. I promise.
What is that message?
We'll think of something.
I've been hearing about Edith's plan. How marvellous of her.
If you ask me, it's absolutely crackers. But Cora seems pleased.
What idea is this?
Edith has taken in a motherless child and is giving her a home here.
I should have thought an orphan rather an uncomfortable piece of baggage for an unmarried woman.
You mean a man might not want to take the child on?
Well, I wouldn't.
Rose, have you written to your mother about Mr. Aldrich?
I have now.
And will she approve?
Don't be disappointing, Aunt Violet, please.
I promise you we both know a difference in religion is a big thing.
Quite right.
How would you bring up any children, for example?
Children? When did this happen?
I'm talking hypothetically. The fact is, most marriages that fail founder for precisely this kind of reason. An irreconcilable difference.
Or maybe they just don't get on.
No, I'd agree with Larry. It's usually more than that. Yeah, it might be different beliefs or different nationalities or a huge age gap. In the end, they cannot see eye to eye.
I don't see what you're getting at.
You mean to marry Mrs. Crawley here? Well, she seems very nice, and I wish you both every happiness.
Thank you.
But that doesn't prevent me from seeing that the wide disparity in class and background may prove your undoing.
What did you say?
Only that Mrs. Crawley, a decent middle-class woman with neither birth nor fortune, is expecting to fill our mother's shoes as one of the leaders of the county. Is she capable of it? Or will her inevitable failure prove a source of misery to them both?
You know Mrs. Crawley's late son was my heir.
What does that prove? Everyone has distant cousins who are fairly odd.
How dare you? Will you go, Larry? I had to make excuses for your rudeness the last time you sat at this table. It is tiring to think I shall be called upon to do so again.
I know the choice of in-laws is eccentric in this family. You already boast a chauffeur, and soon you can claim a Jew, but even so...
Why don't you just get out, you bastard?
And suddenly we've slipped into a foreign tongue.
Well, if that is how you feel...
I do not endorse Tom's language, but that is certainly how we all feel.
Then, Lady Grantham, goodbye. And thank you for a delightful evening. What did you imagine? That we would welcome you with open arms?
Golly, what an evening. We won't forget it in a hurry.
Let us remember it for two reasons. One bad, one good.
Oh, it's a good one.
I hope it is good.
I'm listening.
See, the thing is, it occurs to me that we're already having to defend ourselves.
Yes.
So let's have a real reason to. That is, if you feel equal to it.
I'm not going to give you an answer until you say it properly.
Do I have to kneel down?
Of course. But you don't have to stay kneeling for very long.
Rose. Darling Rose. Will you marry me?
You can get up now.
Come on.
We ought to be serious. The truth is that we haven't known each other very long. And they're right that there are bound to be problems.
The way I see it, we both know we're going to get married in the end. We know we're right together.
Yes, I suppose we do.
That's all I need to hear. I'll telephone tomorrow and we'll settle who tells what to whom and when.
Oh, darling.
I'm going to wait in the car. Take as long as you like.
We'll laugh about this one day.
Yes, the sooner the better. Good night.
Good night. Tell me it won't change your mind.
I can't talk about this tonight nor for some time to come. And I think Rose and her young man will take up every scrap of attention we have for weddings.
Please don't say that.
Papa? Larry's been sitting in the car since he left the dining room.
I'm just coming.
I'll say good night to Mrs. Crawley.
Good night. Don't blame Larry. He was close to his mother and hates the thought of a replacement. They both do.
You don't need to remind me. The boys take after their mother in every possible way.
doesn't sound like a bride on the brink of wedded bliss.
It's a long time since I've been on the brink of anything, except possibly the grave. I wanted a big wedding breakfast with all of us sat at groaning tables having a jolly time.
Well, why can't you have that?
Because it's not how posh people do it. They stand about with nibbly bits getting stuck in their teeth, and that's what we've to do.
Well, I don't see why. We could put trestle tables up in the hall.
No, Mr. Carson wants it like the family would do it. I don't mind. Not really.
So, what are you going to wear?
My brown day dress. Anna's going to tidy it up a bit. It's simple, but I'm sure it'll be fine.
Because I've got a new catalogue. It's so easy. You send a postal order and they send you the dress.
I know what a catalogue is, thank you. I'm too old to think a new dress will solve anything much.
Well, you're not wasting money, that's for sure.
We got this.
You agree? I do, yes. How may I help, milady?
I'm sorry to put you on the spot, but I believe you've been rather railroaded over your reception. I understand you don't want to be married from this house.
What?
Why ever not?
My lady, we're both honoured to be allowed the privilege.
No. I want to hear from Mrs. Hughes.
Your ladyship, I have no wish to sound ungrateful. This is a fine house, and Mr. Carson's right. It'd be an honour to hold our party here.
But it's not what you want.
Well, to start with, I'd like a kind of reception that's different from the ones you're used to, with a solid meal served at proper tables.
But does anyone have a sit-down wedding breakfast anymore?
A great many people, my lady. And then I'd like to feel we could ask all sorts, everyone who's been part of our lives here. And I'd planned for music later on, and maybe a bit of a hoolie, none of which would be suitable in the great hall.
It would not.
There you are, we're only agreeing.
But Mrs. Hughes, doesn't Carson deserve a wedding in this house, where he has served this family for so long and with such loyalty?
And will continue to do so while there is breath in his body.
Well then.
But this is our day, my lady. It's about Charles Carson and Elsie Hughes. And not about this glorious house or the glorious people who've lived in it. Just us. And that's the way I'd like to celebrate it.
I couldn't understand more, Mrs. Hughes.
I hope we'll be invited.
Of course, you will all be invited and we'd be honoured if you come. But it would be our day, celebrated in our way.
Do you know where you will stage this festivity?
I had thought about the schoolhouse, my lord, but Mr. Carson doesn't care for it.
I don't mind the schoolhouse.
Good. Then it would seem to be settled. Thank you, Mrs. Hughes.
Thank you, my lady.
Why do we have to listen to the house? Because I want you to stop bullying them and let them do it their way.
You think I'm a bully. I think you're a snob.
How'd you make that out?
She didn't want the bother of a servant's wedding in the hall.
That's not fair.
This just came for you.
Oh, thank you very much.
What is it?
Never you mind.
Oh, what a relief. I thought it wasn't going to get here.
May we know what it is?
It's a frock I ordered as a surprise for Mrs. Hughes, but with the wedding tomorrow, I thought you'd missed it.
Can we have a look?
I don't see why not. Just check Mr. Carson's gone.
It's a relief to me as well. The one she wanted to wear was awful. Oh. Well, it's very, it's an improvement. We can say that. Is it? What was the last one like?
I don't understand. It was so nice in the picture. It wasn't dear, but it seemed like a bargain.
What is the thought that counts?
Not with a frock, it's not.
Lady Mary says she'll lend her a brooch or something.
A brooch? She'll need a diamond parure to make this look any good.
She's coming.
Daisy, I'm afraid Gertie's ill, so can I ask you to do the fires?
Do you remember I thought Mrs. Patmore might have an idea about Mrs. Hughes's dress? Well, she did, and it arrived this morning.
No good?
No good at all. Horrible, in fact. It's too late now to order anything else.
Can't we lend her a dress or something?
Well,
She wouldn't fit into a dress of yours, and her ladyship's too tall.
But what about an embroidered evening coat? The length wouldn't matter so much. I'll ask Mamma when I get up. She'll have something.
Miss Baxter said she was leaving early to go into York.
That's right. She's out all day. She goes straight from York to a meeting with Dr. Clarkson. We'll have to manage without her. She won't mind. She'll be pleased.
Just want to make sure everything's under control.
I think so. Mr. Brock's bringing the flowers and foliage in the morning, and Mrs. Patmore's on top of things.
Are you nervous?
A little. And I'm sad about my dress. I wish I'd made more of an effort, but it's too late now.
I'm sure you'll look wonderful.
Well, I'll look tidy.
What about tonight? We mustn't see each other tonight.
I'm having dinner in here, and they'll warn you when I'm going up so that we don't meet on the stairs.
That dress doesn't look bad now as a foil to set off the colours of the embroidery.
I agree. Its plainness is a virtue, and I'm sure we can do something about the length.
Excuse me? Will someone explain to me what's going on?
Didn't Lady Mary tell you, milady?
Tell me what?
That Mrs. Hughes is going to borrow one of your coats to be married in.
Was I to have any say in this as you rifled through my cupboards?
Your ladyship, there's obviously been a misunderstanding.
I'm surprised at you, Mrs. Hughes. This is not the kind of behaviour I would look for from you.
We'll hang them up at once and leave you in peace.
You see, Lady Mary said...
Lady Mary may dispose of her own clothes as she sees fit, but I do not know what gives her the right to dispose of mine. Now, please, leave me. I have a headache and I need to lie down.
Don't let it upset you.
It does upset me. I felt like a naughty child in need of a smack. Anyway, I'm going up now. It's past 10. Yes?
May I come in?
Please.
Mrs. Hughes, I won't beat about the bush. I behaved badly earlier, and I hope you'll accept my apology.
It must have been strange to find us all there, milady.
Nevertheless, I have no excuse to behave as I did, not to someone who deserves our loyalty as you do. Please forgive me.
Of course.
I can only say I was angry about something quite different, and I allowed it to cloud my judgment.
Oh, we've all done that, my lady.
Finally, I'd like you to have this coat.
I'm not sure it was a good idea.
Please, or I'll feel I've spoiled the day, which is the very last thing I'd want to do. Furthermore, I want you to keep it.
Well,
I've asked Baxter to fit it for you tonight. She's happy to do that.
Very well, milady. I'm very grateful. I'm not sure when I'll wear it again, but you never know.
You never do. I'll say good night.
Good night, your ladyship. For better, for worse, for richer, for poorer, in sickness and in health, to love, cherish, and to obey, till death us do part, according to God's holy ordinance.
With this ring I thee wed, with my body I thee worship, and with all my worldly goods I thee endow.
In the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Ghost. Amen.
In the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Ghost. Amen.
I now pronounce you man and wife together. hardly believe it. I used to come here all the time as a boy.
Run to Mummy, Georgie. Edith alone on the town. What will she get up to? So what do you think I should do? Would you like a London life? The fact is, I'd like a life.
I should let the young ones console each other.
I just want to be his friend, Mrs. Hughes.
We must run this place as it should be run.
Who has an under-butler these days?
I suppose you've settled into the routine by this time.
I think so. I like it here.
Mrs. Hughes.
You don't think maybe you should start calling me Elsie?
Not here. Not while we're working.
Oh dear, I do hope I haven't cast a shadow.
What did you think you were doing? Sprinkling sunshine?
So you want to protect your power at the expense of the patients. I want to protect the patients at the expense of my power.
And may the best man win.
The question remains, what is your future? I've let you down.
You don't know what you're asking.
You are stronger than you think.
I have never been so sure of anything.
I can't believe it.
We don't have a minute to waste, you and I.
Oh, how exciting.
I'm looking forward to this.
Welcome back.
I'm looking forward to this.
It's exciting.
Home again at last.
I can't believe it.
You've made me a happy man.
Heavens, we are quite a party.
Well done, my lord.
Yes, well done, us. You should come. It'll be fun.
I don't want to miss anything.
PBS and Masterpiece present the highlights from Season 5 of Downton Abbey. It's 1924, and Downton enters the modern age.
Oh, golly, isn't this thrilling?
If I touch it, will I get a shock?
You'll only get a shock if you listen to it.
Lady Mary receives a scandalous proposal.
I want us to be lovers, Mary.
No one must ever find out.
But someone does.
I wasn't seduced, Granny.
A young woman of good family who finds herself in the bed of a man who is not her husband has invariably been seduced.
And now, Lady Mary's having a change of heart.
I can't be hearing this correctly.
I'm afraid you are.
So you sleep with a man because he wants to marry you. But now you change your mind. It's insane.
I'm sorry if you think so.
Well, what's changed?
Something has, that's all.
Lady Edith's daughter is living with the Drews.
Perhaps you'll keep an eye on her as she grows.
I'm sorry she wants a child, but she can't have ours and that's flat.
But now she wants to bring Marigold home.
Tell her.
It's true. Marigold's a daughter.
I believe we should offer little Marigold a home here.
Well then, I suppose that's settled.
Isabel Crawley has a wealthy suitor.
I state freely and proudly, Isabel, that I've fallen in love with you.
Lord Merton and I have decided that we should get married.
Well, she seems very nice, and I wish you both every happiness.
Thank you.
But that doesn't prevent me from seeing that the wide disparity in class and background may prove your undoing.
What did you say?
I will not poison what years we have left by setting you against your children.
The past comes back to haunt Downton.
There's a policeman to see you, Mr. Carson. A man stayed here last year, a Mr. Alex Green.
I remember him well. Why wouldn't I, when he died so very tragically not long after?
Something's turned up.
What's turned up?
A witness.
And Anna's charged with murder.
Bates.
I wondered what had happened to that fan.
And when I gave you this fan, you hid it in your reticule in case Lord Grantham should be angry.
Good heavens.
Granny has a past.
A Russian emigre rekindles an old flame.
I wanted you from the moment I first saw you.
Have you told the prince his cause is hopeless?
I will never again receive an immoral proposition from a man. Was I so wrong to savour it?
Mr. Bates confesses to the murder.
Mr. Bates has gone.
I don't understand. Gone where?
I don't believe he's guilty, whatever he's written there. He just wants Anna out of prison.
Mr. Carson finally pops the question.
Of course I'll marry you, you old booby. I thought you'd never ask.
And a new man enters Lady Mary's life.
Thanks for keeping my spirits up.
Some men hate having strangers with them.
Oh, I don't mind. Especially not you.
Heavens, what a snappy chariot. Mr. Rogers clearly has hidden depths.
It's mine. But thanks for the compliment.
Christmas arrives at Downton, and as one beloved family member prepares to depart,
I've grown extremely fond of you, Tom. Always remember you have a home to come back to.
another returns. And those are the highlights from Season 5.
We're the future. They just don't know it yet. It's good to be the king.
I wish I could dance like that.
Like what? Don't know the grizzly bear?
The grizzly bear. As if you do.
Certainly I do. Miss O'Brien, shall we show them?
Not likely.
William, give us a tune. Come on, Daisy.
Go on.
Hands up.
Daisy! Stop that silly nonsense before you put your joints out. See to the range and go to bed.
Thank you, that was beautiful.
What did I tell you? She's found her Romeo.
That might be her brother.
She hasn't got a brother, or we'd know it by now. Just a sister and living St. Anne's.
You know everything, don't you?
Everything my foot. You're hiding behind him, but he's not what you think he is.
Oh, go home, William. If you're going to be such a spoil sport.
All right, I will.
Come back, she didn't mean it.
Good night, Mrs. Hughes. I was right when I said she was looking sparkly-eyed.
I beg your pardon, Thomas.
He can disapprove all he likes. Mrs. Hughes has got a fancy man.
Him, a fancy man.
Don't be so nasty, Daisy. It doesn't suit you.
I reckon there's a job vacancy coming up. Miss O'Brien, do you fancy a promotion?
Oh, very droll. If she's got a boyfriend, I'm a giraffe.
Leave me alone, Mr. Bates. I know you mean well, but let me be.
What chance did he have up against a champion?
Now you listen. You filthy little rat. If you don't lay off, I will punch your shining teeth through the back of your skull.
Is this supposed to frighten me, Mr. Bates? Because if it is, it isn't working. I'm sorry, but it's just not working.
like to hear you play. Where are they all?
Busy, I suppose.
Haven't you got anything to do?
Yes, I have. Of course I have.
You mustn't let Thomas get you down. He's just jealous. Everyone likes you better than him.
Not everyone.
Then she's a foolish girl and she doesn't deserve you. Though why am I encouraging you? Forget all that. For 10 years at least.
You're a kind woman, Mrs. Hughes. I don't know how this house would run without you. I don't, truly.
Stop flanneling and get on. Before I betray you to Mr. Carson.
Clumsy clodhopper.
Sorry.
You will be sorry when I'm finished. You look at this.
Leave him alone.
Anna, Lady Sybil's back from Ripon. She's gone up to her room.
Thank you.
Why does she waste her precious time on politics?
Here.
Now, don't you believe in rights for women, Thomas?
What's it to you?
Well, I know you don't believe in rights of property. I think some people might find that interesting.
Who's gone to tell them? You?
I'm sorry. The only sure way to get rid of a servant is to have him or her suspected of stealing.
And you forget we've tried that and it didn't work.
But last time we invented a theft. What we need to do is to make him a suspect when something's really been stolen.
How do we know anything's been stolen?
Because you stole it, you noodle.
Oh, you mean the wine?
Yeah, the wine.
But that's the whole point. Bates knows I took it. He was threatening to tell Mr. Carson.
Well, he can't, can he? Not if we get him first. I've seen Mr. Bates with a bottle from time to time. I must have thought he was helping you.
Why would I order a valet to help with the wine?
Well, when you put it like that, of course you wouldn't.
So, Mr. Bates is taking wine. And why would this be? To drink it?
It's not to clean his boots.
Thank you, Thomas. Daisy, Thomas says you have something to add to this.
Well,
you're not in any trouble or any danger of trouble.
You remember what you saw?
I may have seen him coming out of the cellar.
May. Did you or didn't you?
It's very hard for the girl, Mr. Carson. You're frightening her.
I'm sorry. Thank you. You may go.
I wish you'd tell me what's troubling you. If it's this business with Mr. Bates.
It's not that. I'll get to the bottom of that.
I hope you'll do it soon. There's one thing I hate, it's an atmosphere. And we've got a real atmosphere going now. It's an unfair rumour which needs to be scotched.
It's very hard to hear the names of people you love dragged in the mud. You feel so powerless.
Well, I respect Mr. Bates, but I'm not sure that I love him.
I wasn't thinking of Mr. Bates.
Mr. Carson, have you got a minute?
What is it, Daisy? Mr. Carson's a very busy man.
I know he is, but I think he'll want to hear this. I told you something that wasn't true.
Why would you do that?
I did it as a favour for a friend. But I know now he was wrong to ask it of me.
That poor wee babe.
How's her ladyship doing?
I'll take her up a tree in a minute, but I dare say she won't touch a bite.
What about you, Miss O'Brien?
What about me?
That must have been quite a shock.
Yes it was.
I think you'd better dine with us, Mr. Branson. We can't know if you might be needed later.
Well, I'm to go for the doctor at 10. What a long-faced lot.
Kindly show some respect.
Come on, Mr. Carson, she'll get over it. They're no bigger than a hamster at that stage. don't know. I suppose all this makes me feel claustrophobic. I mean, I'm sorry, of course I am. But why must we live through them? They're just our employers. They're not our flesh and blood.
Thomas, don't be so unkind.
Is there nothing left on earth that you respect?
Look at him. Blimey, if he carries on like this for the unborn baby of a woman who scarcely knows his name, no wonder he fell to pieces when his old mum snuffed it.
Thomas! William! Stop that! That is enough! Calm down!
Am I coming?
Today I want to show you what happens.
Mr. Napier, my lady.
What a surprise. I'm afraid you've just missed my aunt.
I know. I watched her leave.
How are your wedding plans going?
Not very well. In fact, we've decided to call it off.
Really? Oh, it seemed quite fixed at Sybil's ball. What a shame. Please.
It'll be better in the long run.
Perhaps. I know what high hopes you have of the institution.
The thing is, Lady Mary, I'm here today because I needed to tell you something face to face before you went to the country.
Face to face? Gracious me.
I've recently heard gossip about the time when I came to Downton with Kamal Pamuk. Gossip that I believe has made life difficult for you. I've also heard it said that I am the source of these stories. It is very important to me that you should know that I am not. From that day to this, I have never spoken one word on the matter.
Then who did?
It seems to have come from the Turkish embassy. From the ambassador himself, in fact, and his wife.
But who told them, if not you?
This is the hard part. When I discovered the answer, I debated whether I should relay it, but in the end, I feel you ought to know.
The suspense is killing me.
It was your sister, Lady Edith, who wrote to the ambassador. That is why people accept the story.
Edith.
It is very hard to believe.
Harder for you than for me. Is it true you wrote to the Turkish ambassador about Kamal?
Who told you?
Someone who knows that you did.
Then why are you asking?
Because I wanted to give you one last chance to deny it.
And what if I did? He had a right to know how his countrymen died. In the arms of a slut.
What made you choose Yorkshire? Was it a historic reason?
Not really. I used to go there as a girl, and of course, it's beautiful.
Do you have any English blood?
It's true, we only date from the 1850s, but Lady Cinderby's family, arrived in the reign of King Richard III.
Really? I always think of you as nomads drifting around the world. Talking of drifting around, is it true you're starting your honeymoon at the Melfords in Coningsby?
Oh, yes. Lady Melford is Mother's cousin.
Is she? I never knew that.
I gather you wanted a synagogue blessing.
I'd like to respect both sides.
Well, you don't understand our customs. Then again, why should you?
So it won't be possible.
No. He should have told you.
I thought we could have a dinner on Wednesday night for all of you. So you could meet some of the relations.
And show them how lucky they are.
Have you got many of them staying?
We're crammed to the gunnels. Atticus has had to move into the Hornby Hotel.
I love the Hornby.
It makes sense, and he can have his... What do they call it now? His stag party there, without disturbing us.
Will you be going, Lord Cinderby?
Hardly. Stag parties are rather high on Father's disapproval list.
Is it a long list, Lord Cinderby? The things you disapprove of?
No. As long as I can steer clear of card sharps and undercooked fish. And divorce. I think I'm fairly easy.
Is divorce so terrible these days? Is it worse to stay together and be miserable?
Well, I'm clearly old-fashioned, but to me, divorce signifies weakness, degradation, scandal, failure.
Are you glad to be in London again?
I will be when I get the house back.
When do the tenants go?
Next week, in theory. I need to pull the real pictures out of storage.
What a palaver.
I know, but think of the relief when I can shut the door at last and be alone in my own home.
Won't Lord Flintshire be in there with you?
Of course he will.
Of course I will. What a funny thing to say, Susan.
Funny is one word for it.
Well, I want you to know that you'll always be welcome at Canningford.
How kind. Tell me, do you find it difficult these days to get staff?
Not very. But then we're Jewish, so we pay well.
Going away?
Do you care?
Look, I wasn't to know you hadn't told him. It never occurred to me...
Just shut up! I don't know what's happened. Tom's made you feel bad. Or Papa. Or maybe it's just the same old Mary. Who wants her cake and hate me too.
I never meant to...
Yes, you did! Who do you think you're talking to? Mama, your maid. I know you. I know you to be a nasty, jealous, scheming bitch.
Now listen, you pathetic...
You're a bitch! And not content with ruining your own life, you're determined to ruin mine.
I have not ruined my life. And if Bertie's put off by that, then...
Don't demean yourself by trying to justify your venom. Just go. And you're wrong, you know, as you so often are. Henry's perfect for you. You're just too stupid and stuck up to see it. Still, at least he's got away from you, which is something to give thanks for, I suppose.
Granny, when did you arrive?
Yesterday evening. I spent the night before in Southampton. And an entire day on trains. So I've come hot foot.
If you're here to reprimand me about Edith, please don't. Tom's already torn me into strips.
Why did you do it?
I don't know. She was so... Anyway, I'm sorry now.
You should be.
With Edith, I just say things, and then they can't be unsaid.
Tom believes you're unhappy. That's why you lash out as you do.
Look, if this is about Henry Talbot, you should be clear he hasn't much to offer. Bertie Hexam is a loss, but not Henry. He's well born, but there's no money or position. He's not even a countryman. Not really. He grew up in London.
He shoots?
Yes, he shoots. Like every social climbing banker shoots.
Well, let's leave his credentials to one side for a moment and concentrate on what is important.
Which is?
Tom says that he is in love with you. And and that you are in love with him.
Do you believe him?
Do you deny it?
Oh, for you of all people to talk as if his qualifications don't matter.
Tony Gillingham had all that I could wish. Birth, money, looks. But he didn't suit you.
No.
No, he wasn't clever enough. He wasn't strong enough. Henry Talbot is both.
All right, Granny, it's not his poverty. But did Tom tell you I stood there, staring at a car in flames, wondering if it were him?
I think he's told me everything.
Then you'll know I can't be a crash widow again. I can't. I'd live in terror, dreading every race, every practice, every trial. I cannot do it.
Does he know this?
He'd feel he should give it up, but I don't want that. He'd resent me. Oh, can't you find me some duke? There must be one spare, so I can put Edith in her place.
You are the only woman I know who likes to think herself cold and selfish and grand. Most of us spend our lives trying to hide it.
Oh, Granny, please don't lecture me on sentimental virtues.
Don't worry. I believe in rules and traditions and playing our part. But there is something else.
And what is that, pray?
I believe in love. I mean, brilliant careers, rich lives are seldom led without just an element of love.
Oh, Granny, you do surprise me.
Oh, I am glad. So climbing all those stairs wasn't wasted. No. No, I would only say this. First, make peace with your sister. And then, make peace with yourself. Mary.
I think I can.
I think I can.
I think I can. I think I can. I think I can.
I think I can.
I think. Going away? Do you care? Look, I wasn't to know you hadn't told him. It never occurred to me...
Just shut up! I don't know what's happened. Tom's made you feel bad. Or Papa. Or maybe it's just the same old Mary. Who wants her cake and hate me too.
I never meant to...
Yes, you did! Who do you think you're talking to? Mama? Your maid? I know you. I know you to be a nasty, jealous, scheming bitch.
Now listen, you pathetic...
You're a bitch! And not content with ruining your own life, you're determined to ruin mine.
I have not ruined my life. And if Bertie's put off by that, then...
Don't demean yourself by trying to justify your venom. Just go. And you're wrong, you know, as you so often are. Henry's perfect for you. You're just too stupid and stuck up to see it. Still, at least he's got away from you, which is something to give thanks for, I suppose.
Granny, when did you arrive?
Yesterday evening. I spent the night before in Southampton. And an entire day on trains. So I've come hot foot.
If you're here to reprimand me about Edith, please don't. Tom's already torn me into strips.
Why did you do it?
I don't know. She was so... Anyway, I'm sorry now.
You should be.
With Edith, I just say things and then they can't be unsaid.
Tom believes you're unhappy. That's why you lash out as you do.
Look, if this is about Henry Talbot, you should be clear he hasn't much to offer. Bertie Hexam is a loss, but not Henry. He's well born, but there's no money or position. He's not even a countryman. Not really. He grew up in London.
He shoots?
Yes, he shoots. Like every social climbing banker shoots.
Well, let's leave his credentials to one side for a moment and concentrate on what is important.
Which is?
Tom says that he is in love with you, and that you are in love with him.
Do you believe him?
Do you deny it?
Oh, for you of all people to talk as if his qualifications don't matter.
Tony Gillingham had all that I could wish. Birth, money, looks. But he didn't suit you.
No.
No, he wasn't clever enough. He wasn't strong enough. Henry Talbot is both.
All right, Granny, it's not his poverty. But did Tom tell you I stood there, staring at a car in flames, wondering if it were him?
I think he's told me everything.
Then you'll know I can't be a crash widow again. I can't. I'd live in terror, dreading every race, every practice, every trial. I cannot do it.
Does he know this?
He'd feel he should give it up, but I don't want that. He'd resent me. Oh, can't you find me some duke? There must be one spare, so I can put Edith in her place.
You are the only woman I know who likes to think herself cold and selfish and grand. Most of us spend our lives trying to hide it.
Oh, Granny, please don't lecture me on sentimental virtues.
Don't worry. I believe in rules and traditions and playing our part. But there is something else.
And what is that, pray?
I believe in love. I mean, brilliant careers, rich lives are seldom led without just an element of love.
Oh, Granny, you do surprise me.
Oh, I am glad. So climbing all those stairs wasn't wasted. No. No, I would only say this. First, make peace with your sister. And then, make peace with yourself. Mary.
Kit Kat Duos mocha and chocolate. Have a break. Have a Kit Kat.
I'm so sorry, Mr.
This is Mr. Bromwich, my lady. He's here about the telephone.
Oh, please make your notes, dear Mr. Borridge. We're so looking forward to it. What an exciting business to be in.
You must be expanding every day.
Oh, we are, sir. But that brings its problems. Training up men for the work when many have no aptitude. I can't even find a secretary who can keep pace at the moment.
What?
It's hard with a new concept. Too old, they can't change. Too young, and they've no experience.
But have you filled the post yet? Because I know just the woman.
Well, she must hurry up. We'll close the list tomorrow night.
You'll have her application. I promise. Carson said you were here.
Oh, just checking that everything's been done right, my lady.
Only we never heard back. That is, Miss Dawson never heard back from you. About an interview?
Yes. We got the young lady's letter, but the trouble is she didn't have any experience of hard work that I could tell, so...
But she's a very hard worker.
Well, I couldn't find any proof of it. And she gave you as a reference when you don't run a business, my lady. Well, not that I'm aware of.
Lily, can you find Gwen and tell her to come to the hall now?
Yes, my lady.
The reason Gwen didn't give any more details is because she works here as housemaid.
And you thought that would put me off?
But she's taken a postal course and has good speeds in typing, and Pitman Shorthand test her.
Oh, well, if I like the look of her. So, young lady, you thought I'd turn up my nose at a housemaid.
Well, I did, sir.
Well, my mother was a housemaid. I've got nothing against housemaids. They know about hard work and long hours, that's for sure.
Well, I believe so, sir.
Right, well, is there somewhere we can talk?
Gwen, take Mr. Borridge to the library. I'll see no one disturbs you. Sorry, Papa, you can't go in there.
Why on earth not?
Gwen's in there with Mr. Borridge. She's being interviewed.
I cannot use my library because one of the housemaids is in there applying for another job.
It's about the size of it.
I think we should start the ices now. If you agree, Mrs. Patmore.
Certainly, Mrs. Bird. Oh, my Lord, listen to that. It's like the cry of a banshee.
Mr. Carson's telephone is ringing. Well, isn't someone going to answer it?
I wouldn't touch that thing with a 10-foot pole.
Well, I will then. No, Mr. Carson's busy. But can I take a message?
I wish ours was.
I've got news, my lady.
Mr. Bromwich has rung. You've done it, Gwen. You've got the job. Take it.
Something to celebrate?
I got the job, Mrs. Hughes. I'm a secretary up for Gordon.
I'm very happy for you, Gwen, and we'll celebrate after we finish today's work.
Of course, Mrs. Hughes.
Why is Sybil having a new dress, not me?
Because it's Sybil's turn. Can it be my choice this time?
Of course, Tony.
As long as you choose what I choose. Branson, you'll be taking Lady Sybil to Ripon tomorrow. She'll be leaving after lunch.
Certainly, your ladyship.
Poor old Madam Swan. I don't know why we bother with fitting. She always makes the same frock.
What do you want her to make?
Something new and exciting.
Heavens, look at the time. Not a minute to change. Granny's invited herself for dinner.
Then she can jolly well wait.
So women's rights begin at home. I see. Well, I'm all for that.
Will you have your own way, do you think? With the frock? Only I couldn't help overhearing yesterday. And from what her ladyship said, it sounded as if you support women's rights.
I suppose I do.
Because I'm quite political. In fact, I brought some pamphlets that I thought might interest you about the vote.
Thank you. But please don't mention this to my father or my grandmother. One whiff of reform and she hears the rattle of the guillotine. It seems rather unlikely, a revolutionary chauffeur.
Maybe. But I'm a socialist, not a revolutionary. And I won't always be a chauffeur.
He's gonna come for me.
What I see. Don't breathe, too. Rated R.
Afternoon, Mum.
When do you put that magnificent display of prizes on show?
Well, No, not till the day itself.
I remember a superb cup from last year.
The Grantham Cup. It was donated by the late Lord Grantham for the best bloom in the village.
And who won it?
I did.
Well done. And the year before?
Her ladyship won that one too.
Heavens! How thrilling. And before that?
You've met my father.
Good afternoon, Mr. Molesley. What are you showing this year?
Oh, this and that. Only the finest roses in the village.
Really? What an achievement.
It's a wonderful area for roses. We're very lucky. We'll see some beautiful examples right across the show, won't we, Mr. Molesley?
If you say so, your ladyship.
Flower show? Oh, I thought I was in for another telling off about the hospital.
No, this time it's the flower show. I've been to see old Mr. Molesley's garden, and his roses are the most beautiful I've ever laid eyes on.
Go on.
You may not know it, but I believe the committee feel obliged to give you the cup for the best bloom as a kind of local tradition.
No, I do not know that. I thought I usually won the prize for best bloom in the village because my gardener had grown the best bloom in the village.
Yes, but you don't usually win, do you? You always win.
Yes. I have been very fortunate in that regard.
But surely, when Mr. Molesley's garden is so remarkable and he's so very proud of his roses...
You talk of Mr. Molesley's pride. What about my gardener's pride? Is he to be sacrificed on the altar of Molesley's ambition?
All I'm asking is that you release them from any obligation to let you in. Why not just tell them to choose whichever flower is best?
But that is precisely what they already know. And do.
My word, Molesley. Splendid roses as usual. Well done.
Thank you, your lordship.
All stalls are set out very well this year.
This is enchanting. Do we grow this?
I doubt if you've got that one, your ladyship. I've only just found it myself.
Is it a secret? Or could you tell Mr. Brockett?
I'd be glad to, my lady.
He should come and see the rose garden. He could give us some ideas.
Old Molesley's a champion, or he would be in a fairer world.
Don't you start.
I'm afraid I've been annoying Cousin Violet on that score.
If Molesley deserves the first prize for his flowers, the judges will give it to him.
They wouldn't dare.
Really, Robert, you make me so annoyed. Isn't it possible I should win the thing on merit?
I think the appropriate answer to that, Mamma, is yes, dear.
When you ran off last night, I hope you hadn't thought me rude.
Certainly not. I monopolised you at dinner. I had no right to any more of your time.
You see, Edith and I had this sort of bet.
But please, don't apologise. I had a lovely evening, and I'm glad we're on speaking terms. Now, I should look after my mother.
Why was Cousin Matthew in such a hurry to get away?
Don't be stupid.
I suppose you didn't want him when he wanted you. And now it's the other way around. You have to admit, it's quite funny.
I'll admit that if I ever wanted to attract a man, I'd steer clear of those clothes and that hat.
You think yourself so superior, don't you?
Oh.
Very well. So pleased to accept this prize.
And I think she who laughs last, laughs longest.
Did that missing box of yours ever turn up?
Oh, it was a fuss about nothing. They must have put it back on the wrong shelf when they were dusted. Bates found it this morning.
Next time, have a proper look before you start complaining. I'm sure the servants are frightened half to death.
Mea culpa.
And now the Grantham Cup for the best bloom in the village. And the Grantham Cup is awarded to... Mr. William Molesley, for his Comtesse Cabarrus Rose.
Bravo! Well done! Bravo!
Congratulations, Mr. Molesley.
Thank you, milady. Thank you for letting me have it.
It's the judges who decide these things, not me. But very well done.
Bravo, Mama. That must have been a real sacrifice.
And bravely born. I don't know what everyone's on about, but all is well, my dear. All is well.